So as we are going into fantasy booking territory right now, I do want to just get out there, because I probably won't mention it in the video, how I would book the finish for Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley, because I think it'd be really, really cool. Bryan Danielson has him in the yes lock with a plastic bag over his head. Come on. Come on. That's good, you know it is. Hello and welcome to FTTR, I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking about WrestleDream, in particular the main event, and in particular why Bryan Danielson needs to win. But before we dive into that, please subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts down below, and I'll try to reply to every single one of them as we dive into this. So, it's been a weird build to WrestleDream, particularly with Bryan Danielson. We had the big Mox heel turn, the sort of Blackpool Combat Club. I don't think they've got a name. I don't know if they've called themselves the Blackpool Combat Club, but the new reinvigorated Blackpool Combat Club, they've been running amok, beating Darby Allin, beating up Private Party, beating up Bryan Danielson, and we've come to this match. We've come to Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. So these two had a banger, I believe at Revolution 2023, I think, when William Regal made his appearance. I think that was 2023, but I could be wrong. That was a right banger of a match. They have really great chemistry. But is Jon Moxley the man to take the belt off Bryan Danielson? No. In my opinion, no. For a few reasons. I have a few reasons for feeling this way. I love Mox. I don't want this video to come across as me dogging on Mox. I think Mox is absolutely fantastic, carried AEW through the pandemic, and yeah, absolutely love him to death. But in terms of where AEW is right now, in terms of what AEW needs to do in terms of like direction and look, I think Bryan Danielson plays a pivotal part in that as the AEW World Champion. And I don't think Mox, this is the right time. I don't think this is time for Bryan Danielson to lose the belt. Granted, he is in his state. He has said he needs surgery. And if he's fine to wrestle, all of this is if he's fine to wrestle. If he needs to drop the belt for health reasons, obviously he should do that. But in terms of creative-wise, I think there's so much more juice and so much more just promise in the Bryan Danielson title run, particularly if they go fully fledged into it, because what appears to be happening now is they're sort of tiptoeing around the idea of Bryan Danielson retiring, like, oh, I'll retire as a full-time wrestler. You just need to go in, like, say, okay, the next person who beats me, I am retiring. That there is your story in the main event scene for a year, if that. Like, just have the next person who beats Bryan Danielson retires Bryan Danielson. Then you have stakes, you have stories, you can have people give reasons why they want to beat Danielson, whether it be their hatred for him, whether it be to prove themselves. There's so many different ways you can go about that, and I feel like AEW have overcomplicated this. It shouldn't have been this convoluted mess of Jack Perry coming in, Darby giving up his shot, to Mox then win it, to then it be Mox versus Danielson. I feel like it's gotten so overworked, overcomplicated, when really there's just a simple story we can tell. Bryan Danielson is the best wrestler in the world. Whoever beats him takes the belt and takes the world. No, they've already taken the world championship. Takes his career. That's what I meant to say. I think it's right there. It's absolutely right there, and I'm hoping that WrestleDream can serve as that reset, which is why I think he needs to win. I think if AEW, like, they've got this new TV deal, they have where the best wrestle, show that in your main events. Just show that in your main event scene. The way I would book this, and I know it's a trope that's done to death, Bryan Danielson comes out, opens Dynamite, do a promo train of people who want to beat him. He comes out and says, I will retire when I lose this belt. Ospreay comes out, Jay White comes out, Hangman comes out, Samoa Joe comes out, Wardlow comes out, Okada comes out. Just have this huge line of people sort of get up in there and show the talent that you've got and be like, oh, this is where the best wrestle. Because all of these people are going to try and beat Danielson. That's one thing I loved so much about MJF's run, is he would spell out who he's going to face in like his big promos. I think one of my favourite segments is the Four Pillars one, where all the Four Pillars come down and interrupt MJF, because it sets up all of these people are vying for it. And then you've got like the Sammy tension, you've got the eventual four-way. Like, I don't think it's that hard, and I feel like one of AEW's issues at the moment is I feel like they're overcomplicating things. I feel like they know where they want to get, but the route is just taking them all over the place. Whereas, just go back to basics. Just re-establish your fundamentals, which is where the best wrestle. Build it around Danielson, and then whoever beats him, whether it be Ospreay, Daniel Garcia, Bobby Lashley, like whoever beats him, it's a simple enough story. It's the Undertaker's streak. Not every match that the Undertaker had to be deep and have twists and have turns and heel factions. No, this is just about, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to prove that I'm the best wrestler in the world by beating the best wrestler in the world. And that can be your story. Like, that is a good hook. No pun intended. So yeah, I feel like that is why you could tell the same story with Mox. But with Mox as champ, I feel like that's a hit glass in case of emergency. Okay, we need Mox. Like, they did it with the Punk stuff and the interim stuff, and I feel like just Mox as world champion, I don't think I'm ready for it again. Like, you have so many other people who are way hotter than Mox. Like, not like Mox is hot, obviously, but you know, like Hangman, like Jay White, like Okada, like Ospreay. There's so many other people who could beat Danielson, and it would elevate them up the card. Mox doesn't need this, and I think that's my biggest gripe with Mox potentially winning, is that I don't think Jon Moxley needs taking Bryan Danielson's title and taking him out of being a full-time wrestler. He doesn't need that accolade, which is why Bryan Danielson needs to win. Bryan Danielson needs to win. I hope he's BSing us and he can just go on this incredible tear of having a year where he just defends the belt and says, I'll retire after the last one. That is such a compelling story to tell with the world title. It's one that we've not seen in AEW, because you had Le Champion, you had Mox who he'd defend it if someone asked him. You had Kenny, belt collector. You had heel MJF. You had Swerve, who was a bit of a fighting champ, but obviously a bit skewed. You had Joe. Like, you've not had this full story just engulf the belt and make it about, like, yeah, this is just where the best wrestle. And then you have Danielson just put on bangers with people and establish that's what AEW is. Like, AEW, I feel like it was so on track in March of this year, and I feel like it's just gotten really muddy and confused and struggling to find its identity again. When you have the catchphrase where the best wrestle, lean into that with Danielson. That's your main event. Danielson is your main event. So yeah, rambling video, but that's why I feel like Bryan Danielson needs to win. And I don't know how I'll feel if Jon Moxley beats Danielson at WrestleDream. I will think, unless they swerve me completely and do something insane, I think it's a mistake for Jon Moxley to beat Danielson. And those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is walking out of WrestleDream as champion? Let me know and I'll try to apply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.